Today we're going to be talking about, do animals go to heaven? I am Danielle MacKinnon. I am an animal communicator. That's an animal psychic. That means that I connect with animals on the other side psychically, and I connect with animals that are alive psychically as well. And I was thinking about, like, what's the best way to talk about this? Because I fully 100% believe that there is a heaven for animals. And I was thinking about, well, how do I share this? Because there's not any proof, right? I can't produce some scientific study. I can't say, yeah, I've been there. I can't do any of that. But what I can do is share with you the experiences that made me kind of go, all right, yeah, there's definitely a heaven for animals. There's definitely a place where that animal soul goes. So let's start out with the first piece that I think you have to address in doing this, which is animal souls. Animal souls, right? So I feel through my work that animals have souls, that they're this continuous energy to the animal, just like people have this continuous energy to them. And it's because of this that I know that animals are going to, we're calling it heaven, but is it really heaven? I don't know. We're just going to call it heaven as the place, the wonderful place where the animals go. So I believe that animals have souls because I can connect with them even when they've crossed over. So imagine somebody comes to me with about their animal, their dog had died, and they wanted me to connect with them and help them feel better or get a message or find closure. It is very easy for me to connect with the animal on the other side to get that information from the animal. And I'm not saying it's easy because I'm like super psychic animal communicator. Actually, all animal communicators can connect with animals on the other side. In fact, when I teach animal communication, as I do a lot, I often kind of trick my students into connecting with animals on the other side, meaning I don't tell them they're connecting with an animal on the other side because we get all up in our heads. And when you just reach out intuitively to do it, the animal is there. So the first thing that told me, hey, animals do have some type of heaven, is that it is possible to connect psychically with an animal that has crossed over, with an animal that is no longer in their body. So that's the first thing that came through and told me. The next thing that happened in my life that really kind of solidified for me that there is such a thing as animal heaven had to do with how that connection worked, meaning it wasn't any more challenging to connect with an animal that had crossed over than it was to connect to an animal that was alive. It sounds kind of like I'm saying the same thing, but I'm actually not. I'm actually saying there's absolutely no difference in how I connect with an animal on the other side and an animal that's here. However, an animal that I connect to that's on the other side still can sit there and give me information about what their human is currently doing in their life. So a lot of the time, someone who's coming to me for a reading on their animal, they'll say, I'm missing him, or, I thought I heard him the other day, or whatever it is. And I'll connect to the animal that's crossed over. And that animal will say, hey, yeah, I was around when she had Fred over the other night. And I have been around in this dream. Like, they're able to really specify things that are going on in their human's life, even though they have crossed over. So connecting with an animal that is on the other side, they have this ability to be present and still be around and connected to their human, which seems really weird. I've not really had an animal say they weren't still connected to their human or not be able to tell me what their human is doing. There's another thing that happens that kind of, so again, this is going to be the third thing that for me that solidified is there this animal heaven? What do animals do? What happens? And that is, they're sending messages. That is that when you connect, this is a really cool thing. When you connect with an animal psychically, because I'm doing all this psychically, when you connect with an animal psychically and you ask that animal, hey, what's going on? And that animal has crossed over, that animal will describe like a pretty awesome existence to me, to the animal communicator, to tell they're human. Which is pretty cool. So an animal that's crossed over will describe, a dog that likes to run through the woods will describe there's lots of woods where I am, that kind of thing. It does seem to vary per animal, per personality of each animal, per what each animal enjoys, but it's a pretty big deal to me that they're all describing this really wonderful, happy existence. I have not had an animal ever say, I'm doing nothing. For example, I have not, and this is psychically, I have not ever had an animal say, I'm unhappy, I'm not okay. They are always, when they've crossed over, you get such a great connection to the animal because they've kind of let go of all that physical body stuff. I like the idea of heaven. My idea of heaven is based on what the animals have told me, not necessarily what religion has told me and things like that, but what I'm getting from the animals. And I think the other piece that I'll say that has helped me really believe that there is a heaven, a perfect place, an awesome space, a dimension, whatever you're going to call it, where the animals go when they cross over, is what I would call animal spirit school. And yeah, so how do I want to talk about that? This is not any kind of official this is not any kind of official school. I just have Danielleified it. So I'm using my words to put some kind of sense to what the animals have told me. So way back when I started, like 20 years ago, when an animal crossed over, if I went to connect with that animal and that animal had recently passed, let's say they passed on Monday the 1st of whatever month. If in the next week or so I went to connect with that animal, I would actually have a little bit of a hard time. It would be kind of a squishy connection. I wouldn't really feel like it was really solid. I wouldn't get the information or feel like, ooh, we're here. I've got your animal here. It was very challenging. But if I tried like after 2 weeks to connect to the animal, it was all good. It was a normal connection with the animals on the other side. Like it was all good. So over time, because more and more people are opening up to animal communication, to the idea that there is an other side, to the sixth sense, as more and more people think that I'm less crazy, right? I know people think I'm crazy, but the number that think I'm crazy is going down and down because more and more people are opening up to the idea that there's more out there for us, that there's more than our typical 5 senses. So as more people have opened, what I've seen happen as is that the time that it takes for me to be able to easily have a solid connection with the animal that has crossed over, the time that it takes for that to happen has gone from 2 weeks in like 2000 to, maybe a period of a day. At this point, like an animal can cross over one day and I can connect in the next day. Again, not because I'm super psychic, but because this is what I've seen and how it works. When I'm teaching my students, same thing. And it's because more and more people are open. But here's the cool thing about it. In what's happening? What was happening in those 2 weeks? And now it's down to like 1 or 2 days. What was happening was the animal, and this is what they told me. I left my phone on, sorry. And this is what they told me. The animal was going to animal spirit school. I don't know what you're going to call it. That's what I call it. But it's not a real, I don't want you to go around animal spirit school. It's like, I'm just coming up with that name as the best way to describe it. So they were going off to adjust to not having a physical body. So it would be like they're not as accessible energetically for a period of time while they adjusted to being on the other side. Once they got there, adjusted, and they were good to go, now they're showing up for their humans. Now they're showing up for me. Now I can make a connection. And this is also when I start hearing about, yeah, I was in that adjustment phase, that like animal spirit school. I don't, it's just adjustment, because it is a big adjustment to go from having a physical body to not. So those are the reasons that I have come to believe that animals have souls and are going to what we would call animal heaven, animal perfection, other side of wonderfulness. I hope that that helps. I hope that that helps some of you feel good, because I know it can be a challenging, scary thing to think of losing your animal. Okay. Bye, guys. That was fun. See you soon.